And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Stables Media. This is Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith and Frank Vashner. Let's go to our opening statement. Ed, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Frank and then I'll give my opening statement. Ed, you go first. What is your opening statement?
My opening statement is that week by week, as the baseball season progresses, more and more I'm becoming more impressed with the Tigers and their improvements as this rebuild seems to march on. And they also happen to have a certain special guest in the house this week. I should say last night. We'll get to that in a little bit.
All right. Frank, what is your opening statement?
My opening statement is about the Tigers as well. The fact that not only do they keep on trucking and winning games, but also Al Avila coming out and saying the rebuild is over and we're building now. We'll probably get into that as well.
All right. My opening statement is the Red Wings roster just keeps improving with the help of the expansion draft. Cade Cunningham continues to appear more to be a viral lock for the Pistons prior to next week's NBA draft, despite what any of the mainstream media says. And we'll talk about that a bit later on. And the Tigers keep inching closer to that 500 mark as we cover them live. They lead the Texas Rangers 4-2. Plus, we have an update health-wise in terms of Lions cornerback Jeff Okudah. But before we get started, we want to remind everyone that this show is sponsored by the Viget Social Sports mobile app, where great fans cover. Sign up with a referral code STABLES. Again, the Viget Sports mobile app, that social network where great fans cover. Sign up with a referral code STABLES. Available from the Apple App Store and Google Play. Download the Viget Sports mobile app right now and sign up with a referral code STABLES with a capital S and the rest of the letters being lowercase, including the letter B as in billionaire. So let's get started with the Red Wings Panik Leddy trade first before we get to the expansion draft. We got to go in chronological order. The Red Wings traded forward Richard Panik and a 2021 second-round draft pick to the New York Islanders for defenseman Nick Leddy, and we'll do that with our What's Your Grade segment. Ed, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Frank. Ed, what is your grade on the Panik-Leddy trade?
In terms of what I give to this trade, I give this on a B minus. I think in terms of what we needed for help on the defenseman aspect of the rotation of the roster, I think it fills a need in that aspect. In terms of what we're getting back, I'm not too much concerned what we're giving up. I'm more concerned with what we're going to be getting back and whether or not there's immense value in that and how it will work for us long term. What I can tell from Leddy, he does have consistent offense at the very least, even though his defense is lacking at times. For his part, he's not more, even though he is more known as consistently good with his offense, he's not necessarily a scorer or a shooter. He's more well-versed with his passing and assists. For example, this past season or so, even though, granted, there's more recency bias than anything else, but still, it's worth noting that in the 56 games that he played this past season, Leddy had, of his 31 points, 29 were assists. So, in addition to that, with the 6 assists that he had in playing in 19 playoff games for the Islanders, that lets you know all around what his game is about, which kind of makes sense. You know, he's barely 6 foot, and as a defenseman, that's quite. You know, as you go along with your height and size, it dictates on what your style is going to be, as is the case here with Leddy. He does have good speed. He is a terrific skater, you know, and again, that plays into his playmaking ability. But again, there is concerns with his defense, which does lead to some of the fact that overall he may be seen as a minus rating in some metrics cases, whether it be a -3 overall for this past previous season, or or in terms of defense specifically a -42. But in that, though, not only did you get something that helps with your goal scoring, and frankly, I think he could be a good factor in a potential improving power play, especially considering the fact that it's hired Alex Tanguay to improve upon that department. But he can also be used as a potential partner, if not a mentor, in my view, for the upcoming young prospect, Moritz Seider. Seider, that's their big defenseman of the future. There's going to be a lot riding on him per se. So in terms of help getting him accommodated and adjusted to the NHL and to things over on this side of the seas, it may help to give him a partner or someone with veteran experience that can help him usher and ease him on into the league. And I think you can find that here with Leddy. And I've not mentioned veteran experience. He also brings playoff experience. Like I said, he was with the Islanders, who came just ever so close to reaching the Stanley Cup final this past season. So there's that. And, while some are looking at the fact that, are you really sure that you're really giving up this is a good trade or not? I will bring up the fact that this is a 29-year-old who has only 1 year left on his deal. Is going to be an unrestricted free agent. And it comes down to a case of where he performs well or well enough, you could use him as a potential trade asset. And so since you traded for him here, you'll essentially be flipping for him or at least a second rounder or so at the deadline in the upcoming season if he performs well beyond expectations. Or if he performs below expectations, okay, that's still what, $5.5 million is going to be off your books once his deal is done next year. So in terms of overall, I give this one about a B minus, but still, it's a good quality B minus from where I'm standing at.
All right, so they did pick up a defenseman, but they had to trade a 2021 draft pick of some sort. So the Red Wings will be down one projected draft pick. But then how many draft picks they were projected to have prior to the NHL draft, which will be this Friday, by the way. But really, they traded that. So the Frank, before you give your grade, how many draft picks do the Red Wings have now after that trade?
Well, they actually had 3 picks in the second round, and the pick that they traded away was the one they got from Edmonton. I believe that would have been in the Mike Green or Andreas Haff in the CU deal. I'm not sure which one exactly it was, but so
I believe it was the Anthony Cius deal.
Okay, thank you, Ed. And so they'll still have 11 picks to use in the draft, which is still a lot to pick with, and that's good for Steve Yzerman. But anyways, getting to the meat and potatoes of the matter, I'm giving this one a B. I mean, I was kind of unsure about it first because Leddy wasn't really on a high-level defenseman, but the more I read into it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe Steve's just trying to bring him in to help groom Mo Seider in next year, just help him transition to the NHL. And in addition, he can contribute some offense from the back end as well. And you also look at the fact that not only does he have playoff experience, he also has a Stanley Cup ring, which he won with the Blackhawks in 2013. And of course, as for what they gave up, obviously, lose a second-round pick is no small loss, but it's really not that big of a deal when you had 3 of them to begin with. And then trading away Richard Panik, who wasn't really going to be a part of the future anyways. I'm not really crazy about retaining 50% of his salary. But again, that's only about between $1 million and $1.5 million against your cap. So that's really not something to be too upset about. So I'm going to give it a B with potential to possibly get better or worse, depending on how Leddy performs.
All right. I'll give it a B minus to B, probably a lower level of the mid-range B, like an 84%. That's my grade on the Leddy Panik trade. So that's our what's your grade segment. Now to the expansion draft. Dennis Cholowski and Troy Stetcher, both defensemen, were exposed by the Red Wings in the expansion draft, and the Seattle Kraken took, I believe, just Dennis Cholowski. Troy Stetcher, I believe, is staying put as of right now, since the Seattle Kraken didn't take him. So they just took Dennis Cholowski. Ed, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Frank. Ed, what are your thoughts on that?
Frankly, it's worth noting that the specific type of people that were on that unprotected list to begin with, I noted, or at least skimmed, or at least took a gander and saw that most of them were comprised of unrestricted free agents that were going to be having their cap status wiped off, off the books for the Wings anyway. So a couple of them they may not even attempt to bring back at all. So they figured, hey, just leave them on this exposed list. I did also see a couple other notable names. A couple that we've talked about at least a few times in this program. Svechnikov was one, and Danny DeKaiser was another. But overall, it just at the end it wound up being Cholowski, and I think in terms of what Cholowski, what was it? How we got him was the whole mess of trading Pavel Datsuk's contract. Something involved Jacob Chichurin and
Chikrin?
Chikrin, excuse me. And then somehow we got the raw end of the deal by getting Cholowski. He, in a way, underperformed here. So at least for his sake, I hope he has a better playing career elsewhere. But it just shows the show of where eventually that deal wound up. And again, it's just a continued further indictment, in my view, of what Ken Holland's last years were truly like and what kind of a general manager he truly is. And unfortunately, the people of Edmonton are starting to get a firsthand taste of that. If some that want to criticize Eisman for doing by getting this deal with Leddy, just be glad he didn't trade for Duncan Keith.
Right. Duncan Keith is already over the hill. So there's that. So Nick Leddy's going to be 30 next year. Keep in mind, he's only 29. So he's still probably in his prime, although the last 3 years he's scuffled offensively. I think, Leddy won at least three Bing trophies, including one this past season. So I would give that even a higher mid-range B, by the way, as we go back to What's Your Grade segment for just 2 seconds of our time here. So speaking of the NHL draft, like I mentioned before, it's this weekend. Who could the Red Wings pick? Ed, we'll start with you again, and then we'll Frank, before we get to the NHL draft, hang on a second. Frank, let's mention the Moss tweet about the Kraken selecting Cholowski. Well, of course, Ken Holland, made one of the worst trades ever. Remember the Pavel Datsuk trade?
Oh, yes.
Chikrin?
Oh, yes, I remember that quite well. And, of course, I happened to see what Moss tweeted about how they traded away Pavel Datsuk's dead contract to Arizona. And as a result, Arizona took Jacob Chikrin, who, if I'm not mistaken, got some votes for the Norris Trophy for best defenseman in the NHL. The Red Wings drafted Dennis Cholowski, who had some good moments here and there, but in the end, he ends up being picked by the Kraken. And it's just another indictment on Ken Holland. And of course, I told you pre-show about some of Holland's latest shenanigans in Edmonton, but I'll just keep that off of here for now.
Yeah, poor Connor McDavid anyway. But anyway, still not our prerogative. But anyway, that is that for Cholowski. Now for the NHL draft being this weekend, like I mentioned at least a couple of times recently. Ed, we'll start with you again, and then we'll go to Frank. Who could the Red Wings pick?
I could see them going one of at least two ways. I could see them getting another defenseman, the best available defenseman to them, to sort of be that partner of sorts for Seider on separate lines, or a line of their own once they both come of age. Even though we know that Seider's going to split some time on probably doing some shifts with Leddy or sorts, but still, I could see that as a potential draft pick. Or, and to me, this could be another red herring of sorts, but with Jonathan Bernier, who originally was left on that exposed list, now he's going to apparently test the waters of free agency. I wouldn't be too surprised if they select a goaltender, but again, I'm not too confident in terms of saying for sure or expressing that that's the one pick that I want for sure. Again, there's still areas of improvement that could go in multiple spots on this team, and goaltender I think as well as defenseman are those two, but really, frankly, it could be anybody's guess as to what Eisman is going to do. It could come down to also what we saw a couple of years ago or last year, where the guy that we want or guy that we didn't think we were going to get fell to our laps. So all those are a possibility. But if I were to say which one's more than likely to happen, I think they take either a defenseman or a goaltender.
That's a good idea. Gotta defend the net somehow, and I think Frank Vasher has at least one or two names up his sleeve. Frank, what have you got?
Well, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Steve goes with a goaltender or even a defenseman. The one goaltender's name I've heard, I forget his first name. I think his last name is Wallinder. I think he's from Sweden. I'll have to look that up a little bit later. But also, don't be surprised if he goes center. The name I'm really hearing the most of is Mason McTavish, who I believe plays in the Western Hockey League. They do need to get some guys down the middle because Dylan Larkin, let's be honest, is not a first-line center. He's a second-line center, so you got to get somebody to complement him. So I think either center, defenseman, or goaltender will probably be what Yzerman goes with at 6, but Steve really doesn't reveal his hand very easily, so we shall see.
All right. McTavish is a familiar last name, not to be confused with former coach Craig McTavish, a former Edmonton Oilers head coach.
Yeah, I'm not sure if those two are related or not. I would have to look that up.
Yeah, please do. So, speaking of drafting, that's Red Wings, we shift to Pistons. Projected Pistons top overall pick guard Cade Cunningham watched a Tigers game at Comerica Park earlier this week. And that proves another example of why Cade Cunningham is a viral lock. Trading speculation means nothing. Don't believe what the media teases, whether it's 97.1 or ESPN or any other media outlet mainstream.
Or The Athletic.
Right. The Athletic, you have to subscribe. You have to pay like $10 a month to, read a bunch of crap. I mean, come on.
Or any other NBA podcasts like The Low Post or
The
like
Ringer.
That.
Right. Seriously.
It's basically talk like this is all sizzle and no steak.
It's smoke screens. It's really what it is, frankly, when you think about it. I mean, let's get out the way. We know for a fact that Cade was going to work out for only one team. That's whoever had the number one pick. That wound up being Detroit. Obviously, he was in town. You would assume he was in town to conduct his business with the team, his workout, interview, whatever the case may be. But hey, since you're there and you notice that that the team is that the Tigers are currently on a home stretch, and we'll get to them in a moment. Hey, why not go out, check a game out, socialize, mingle? It helps now that they're letting more fans back into Comerica. I think what was it last weekend? They had 31,000 for that nightcap against the Twins. Big showing out for the fans, by the way. And we saw it again here in this case where it was posted online. Fans chanting, "We want Cade, we want Cade." You got Cade interacting, with fans. They're posting it on social media as well. And not only that, I believe you have Cunningham with his trainer / cousin, or cousin / trainer, however you want to look at it, Ashton Bennings. He was at the game with Cade too, and his post or his comment when he commented on it was, quote, "Detroit showing mad love." So that lets you know, and I think it lets Cade know that, not only, hey, this city, they not only want you, they need you. And I think in terms of what he can bring to this team, which in turn help generate for the city, this should make things all the more smooth and all the more clear for me. I understand the whole aspect of, what could you get from Evan Mobley? What can you get for Jalen Green or Jalen Suggs? And I was on record saying that if we didn't get the number one pick, the guy that I would want most of all, if we didn't get Cade, was Jalen Green. Almost said Suggs, but Jalen Green would have been my top choice. But guess what? We hit the lotto. We tanked the right way possible. The gods shined on us. We got the unicorn. Okay, we got the light at the end of the tunnel here. So
First time in franchise history.
let's just again, yeah. So let's just make it simple. Don't make it too, don't overthink the situation. And like Taylor was talking about, with what these media people are trying to say, they're just doing it to generate clicks and talk and interest. That's it, because they know it's a foregone conclusion. They got to try to stir up some BS to get people to try and even tune into their program. Like, for example, I don't know if this was before the draft lottery or after, but with Mike Valennio talking about the Pistons should trade for Ben Simmons. Are you kidding me? Okay, what you mean potentially? If that was the case, that means we're likely giving up the number one pick. In this case, we're giving up Cade. So you mean to tell me you're going to give up a younger version of Ben Simmons, who has the potential to be better than what Ben Simmons is right now, at least in some certain aspects, but especially one specific aspect. A guy who is not only decent at the very least of shooting the basketball, but also someone who's not afraid to shoot the basketball. Frankly, someone who's not afraid to score the basketball, who is solid with his free throws, okay? In addition to all the other things that he possesses, getting his teammates involved, a tremendous athleticism, defensive ability on point, can guard multiple positions if need be. But still, yeah, you want to give that up for a guy who, frankly, has shown us now for the past 5 years, this is who he is, and I don't know if he's ever or frankly wants to change or evolve his game. So you mean to tell me you want that for what? Because you could say, oh, we got this guy, we got Ben Simmons. Like, no. Okay, there's a reason why that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are not working as a cohesive unit. There's a reason why Doc Rivers, of all people, who's one of the most honest coaches you can get in this day and age, couldn't even go so far as to lie about whether or not how he felt confident in terms of his confidence in Ben Simmons' ability. But yeah, believe that noise. Believe that, yeah, we're going to give up our future for what we see now as someone who we thought was going to be the next big thing, but frankly, it's turned out to be more sizzle instead of steak. So instead of that, let's look to the future with our youngins, our young guns. Even if you got to figure out how to balance out between Cade and Killian Hayes, who gets more, who's the more ball handler in the backcourt, or if need be down the road, you got to figure out, hey, listen, Cade's our guy. We're going to have to try to move Killian. Even still, guys like Sadiq Bey, guys like Isaiah Stewart that can benefit from Cade's talent and his ability and his court vision and his IQ. That sort of thing you cannot pass up on. Okay, this is your chance to get your own Luka Doncic, to get your own Zion Williamson, to get your own, in the case as we saw last night in Milwaukee, your own Giannis Antetokounmpo. So why do not pass up on that? And if he's there, you take him. We're gonna get into this more depth next week, but yeah, I'm just letting you guys know. Since we got the rabbit's foot, I'm not letting go to that. I'm picking Cade. Period.
Yep. Enough said. And speaking of the NBA draft, that's next Thursday, and we'll be on next Thursday at 9 when we cover the Pistons in the NBA draft. So there's that. Frank, your turn.
Well, I've said it all along. Troy Weaver should take all of 2 seconds to say, with the first pick in the NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham, forward out of Oklahoma State University. There you go. There's your franchise player. And not only would he be the Pistons franchise player, I think he would be the number one face of Detroit sports. Think about it, guys. When's the last time we would have a star of this caliber in the city of Detroit?
I wouldn't mind that.
Miguel Cabrera in his Triple Crown years, Justin
Verlander. I would say Datsuk around 08, 09, but I get your point. Trust me.
Yeah.
Or Steve Eiserman.
Heck, maybe you can throw Sergei Fedorov into the mix too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Retire his number, for goodness sake.
Let the church say amen there. But anyways, Sticking to basketball, I know all this talk about, the Pistons could trade if they get the right offer. Oh, they might go with somebody like Jalen Green or Evan Mobley. Again, it's all chatter. It's going to be a nothing burger. Cade Cunningham is going to be the guy. We saw what he was like at the Tigers game. People are coming up to him. that shows him that, hey, as a city, we're going to appreciate somebody like that here. And he feels the love. So I can't wait until next Thursday when he's picked and we can officially welcome him to Detroit.
Yep, and that's up to NBA Commissioner Adam Silver to announce that. Troy Weaver's just got to make him say it.
At this point, I just need to know what number he's wearing so I could go and buy his jersey already. That's the only thing I'm waiting on at this point.
Oh, right. The jersey number, yeah, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. But hey, just get him on board. That's all that matters. Speaking of the Pistons, forward Jerami Grant tested negative for COVID-19 and signed a deal with Adidas. Just a couple updates to throw out there. So he's good to go for Team USA, and then he'll be back with the Pistons.
Which is important to know because, there's obviously a recent sprout up of COVID cases in Japan or in Tokyo with in the Olympic Village with the games getting ready to start, I believe, either tomorrow or Friday.
I believe it's Friday.
Yeah, I think maybe the ceremonies was tomorrow night or something. But the games start this weekend. So knowing that even though he's negative, you have to believe. I think it was even reported that he has to enter COVID protocols as well. By as the mandate anyway. But even still, it's even more important now with the recent cases popping up all over the case in Japan. So the athletes have still got to be careful, be as safe as possible. Even if you are fully vaccinated and you wear a mask and social distance at all times, you can still get this. So again, safety and caution is strongly advised in any case, but especially if you're overseas.
Yep, true that. Frank?
Well, it's definitely good to know that Jerami Grant did test negative, given the fact that he's in a COVID hotbed in Japan, which, for the record, is not doing as well of a job as the United States has done in terms of rolling out the vaccines. So hopefully everybody can stay healthy at the Olympics, because I already do know that they are not allowing any fans to watch any events. So obviously it's going to feel kind of weird watching all the stuff going on, especially the ceremony as well. But, it is what it is. They're saying the show must go on. So let's just hope that Team USA can bring home the gold and stay healthy in the process.
If I could add on a couple more aspects regarding the Pistons, it is worth noting, in the interest of fairness, Cade Cunningham is not the only prospect that they're working out. I believe they've also hosted Jalen Green. They've also hosted Evan Mobley, or in the process of getting ready to, as well as Jalen Suggs. That's the consensus top 4 picks. So with the likes, of Houston, Cleveland, and Toronto falling right behind him, you have to wonder or have to know that they're going to be chomping at the bit to see, get the best available player. It's going to be that next best fit for them. So that's your prospect news about that. And also, maybe it's a good coincidence with the fact that there's general excitement coming about regarding Cade Cunningham or whatever. But apparently plans have been unveiled for a special courtside club to be installed at Little Caesars Arena for Pistons games. So, it'll be a interesting viewpoint, experience, to say the least. I think the jury's still out of how well it'll be received, but again, it's an interesting concept, and I don't mind the risk.
All right. So the Tigers lead the Texas Rangers 4-2, and that drops fair down the right field line. Pinch hitter Ibanez stops at first with a single. There's 2 out. Tigers right now 45-51. They're in 3rd place in the American League Central Division, 13.5 games back of first place behind the Chicago White Sox, who are 50-37 going into tonight's game. And there's 2 out, a man on first. That's Ibanez. That was a pinch hitter against Gregory Soto, who's trying to close it out. The Tigers again lead the Rangers 4-2. Top 9 at Comerica Park. Let me try to retweet here. Got that done. There's another foul ball. There's a foul ball right there. John Hicks was already gotten out. Derek Hill made a catch. John Hicks almost took Soto deep, as I saw. So it's 0-1 on White. Eli White, the center fielder, 0 for 3. A pop out, a strikeout, and a foul out. He's hitting 187 going in this plate appearance. Tiger starting pitcher Spencer Turnbull out for the rest of the season and will undergo Tommy John surgery, and then will also miss some of 22. He threw a no-hitter in Seattle back in May. Now it's 0-2 on Eli White. Tigers within 6 games of the 500 mark, by the way. But Spencer Turnbull being out for the rest of the season is a huge blow to this Tiger starting rotation. Ed, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Frank as Soto tries to put away Eli White and the Texas Rangers.
All right, feel free to let me know if and when Soto gets that final out. But yeah, it is disappointing on a couple ends. Bittersweet ending to Turnbull, as you remember, as you know. He did throw that no-hitter against the Mariners back in May. It was one of the high points, not just for him, but obviously one of the big high points for the entire team this past season, or for this season. And it helped kickstart a little mini good stretch of how the team performed, especially in the pitching department. So his presence in the rotation is going to be missed for sure. I think he's one of those dependable arms that you look at, along with Mize and Manning, among others. Especially now with these draft picks that they're getting as your young arms to build upon in the future. So it is disappointing as well as concerning to see not just what the season ended, but also how's his career going to look after a surgery of this caliber this early on. But as with
Ibanez takes second on a stolen base on a pitch in the dirt, 2-2 on Eli White. Continue on.
No problem. Thanks for the update. With that being said, you can't let that sour or down the mood too much. So the team has found a way to step up, step on, and have the next man up mentality, so to speak. And frankly, what you've seen, they've had 5-6 games in a row that they've won or getting ready to make it 6, assuming they can get this last out here against the Rangers. But still, it speaks to how, again, not just of what AJ Hinch has done in terms of getting them involved, developments, fundamentals, and whatnot. We saw another example of small ball being used, with a stolen base being used, coming around to score a crucial run on Saturday night that led to the win. You're seeing that, something that was rarely used, if ever, by Jim Leland, and frankly not used to good enough per execution under Brad Ausmus, and obviously not seeing here at all under Gardenhire. So you're seeing that. You're seeing Miguel Cabrera finding a little bit of resurgence of himself. There was a point of where I thought, it was going to be difficult for him to get the not just 500 home runs, but also 3,000 career hits. As of this recording, he's 70 or so hits away from 3,000, and he's still 6 homers shy of 500. So there's still a good chance that he at least accomplished one of, if not both of those feats by the end of this season. So that speaks to how, even though he's not the Cabrera that he once was, and obviously that contract as an albatross, he's still performing at a good enough level to where the fans can show appreciation for it, and he's giving his effort. You can't say that he's not being lackadaisical or anything because he's already got his money and yada, yada, yada. No, he wants to give his effort here. He knows how it means to this team and to this city. So I appreciate Cabrera for doing that much. What we've seen from the likes of Akil Baddoo as he hit another home run here tonight, amongst other guys, showing their cases, showing what they have at the plate.
There's a balk called after Eli White was hit by the pitch, and now they call Soto for a balk, and now there are runners on second and third with third baseman Charlie Culberson facing a 1-1 count.
Man, they just love to make things interesting. Right as I'm praising them, it never fails with the Tigers at times. But still, you can be proud of this stretch that they've done so far, to the point of where they're this close to.
Because Soto dropped the ball.
Oh my goodness!
He dropped the baseball. Can't do that. Come on, you got to hang on to it.
Hey, I've called a balk for doing that a couple times in high school games.
Duh, it's an easy call.
Exactly.
Right. There you go.
It's one of the easiest ones to make. But the terms of what they've done so far, and the fact that AJ Hinch,
1 and 2.
AJ Hinch is still wants to help them maintain an attitude of or a mindset of, listen, there's still work to be done. That can be appreciated, and I like the fact that Hinch is letting that fester and grow with this team. It's very, very impressive to see.
Yep. Like I said, it's 1 and 2 now on Culberson. Tigers 1 strike away. Frank, anything to add?
Well, I will say about Turnbull, I mean, that's tough to deal with, especially not long after getting a no-hitter. You find out that you're done for the rest of this year and all of next year, too, because Tommy John surgery is 12 to 18-month recovery.
Foul ball.
So, obviously, wish him well. And as for the Tigers' performance after the break, I mean, Ed mentioned it, seeing the small ball being utilized, stealing of bases, and pretty much all guys doing the little things, too, and pitchers stepping up, too. How about Willie Peralta? I think he's really been someone who I don't
Wiley
think
Peralta,
mentioned.
I think?
Willie is his name, not Wiley.
Okay, then never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I kept getting it wrong the whole time. Continue on.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think Willie Peralta has been the biggest surprise for me, at least from a pitching standpoint, because I thought he was just some relief guy. Now he's been thrust into a starting role, and he has not disappointed.
Easy play for short. Tigers win 4-2.
All right, good. Good to know the win streak is now at 6. So
nice.
That said,
and the Tigers are now within 5 games of the 500 mark. Wow.
Yeah. And also just to counterplay off what Ed said about Akil Baddoo, I mean, this is somebody who I thought, okay, this is a great story to start in April and May. But then I'm thinking, okay, once Major League Scouts kind of figure him out, he's going to be an afterthought. And I'll gladly admit that I was wrong about Baddoo. The guy has adapted to what guys are throwing at him now. He's worked hard. He's gotten better and still playing consistent. So you got to tip your cap to this guy for being a Rule 5 pick. Start out and played nothing higher than A ball and just keep working hard and playing the game.
Yep, that's true. Like I just said, the Tigers beat the Rangers again 4-2. Gregory Soto gets another save. A much more tense one at that. Usually he pitches cleaner 9 innings, but we'll let that one slide. It's still a save nonetheless. Tigers now 46 and 51, still third place in the American League Central Division. Now just 13 games flat back at first place behind the Chicago White Sox, 58-37 going into their game against the Minnesota Twins at Guaranteed Rate Field on the south side of Chicago.
It's slowly creeping up on Cleveland for second place, man.
Yeah, definitely. Watch out.
I'm just noticing.
Yeah, me too. We all are.
Just a humble observation.
Yes, let's keep our eyes on them. So there's the trade deadline coming up, of course. And the way that, like I said before, the way the Tigers are creeping up on second place of the Cleveland Indians.
Do you even consider selling?
Right. Or do you consider standing pat? I wouldn't consider buying yet.
Yeah, I was going to say it's tempting. It's tempting, but knowing where you're at right now, knowing what you still need for down the road, I would rather, if you can't get a good return on 1 or 2 players, then I'd rather just stand pat. That'll be my viewpoint. Right.
So there's that. It has nothing to do with Nico Goodrum being on the IL or the Tigers placing outfielder Nomar Mazara on unconditional release waivers and optioning infielder Willie Castro to the AAA Toledo Mudhens. So those were much-needed moves that the Tigers had to make. Willie Castro was struggling at the plate and defensively. Nomar Mazara was just awful trash, period.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, guys, you mentioned the trade deadline coming up, whether the Tigers should stand pat, sell, or buy if the right thing is available. I can't really see them buying just because I don't think this is going to be a buyer's market.
Me neither.
Yeah, plus the rest of the American League just really isn't that strong. I don't think you got anyone outside of maybe Boston or Houston that could say
or Toronto
or Toronto, who's a legitimate World Series contender. And also, I should mention Al Avila's comments about saying, "Hey, the rebuild is over. We're building now." Here's what I say to that. I was like, okay,
Take that for
say the
what you will.
rebuild's over, then I'm not really worried too much about what you do this year, but next year, I think it should be reasonable to expect contention at a bare minimum for a
For a
wild
wild
card
card.
spot.
Yep.
Is that fair enough?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you try to finish near or at 500 this year, that should be your next level of expectation. Contend for a wild card spot. Notice I didn't say division because you don't know what the division is going to be in from year into year out, and frankly how well you're going to perform yourself. So I would still say keep the expectation low. Aim for the wild card.
And also, too, not only do you got to contend for a wild card spot, you got to be willing to spend some money in free agency. So,
Listen,
and as
I
far
am
as that
sure.
goes, I got
Listen,
to
I
see
am
if Chris Phillips
sure.
is willing to do it first.
Yeah, exactly. I am sure Hinch would love to potentially go in there, go down, and steal a couple of his guys from Houston. And by the way, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. As we mentioned before, Justin Verlander is a UFA. After this season.
Yep.
Who
Like we
knows?
mentioned before.
Who knows? And I'm sure he's got good standing with Hinch. So that's another aspect that we didn't really failed to mention as to whether or not Verlander could make a return to Detroit. He's got a good relationship with Hinch, you would assume. I don't think he has any ill will towards Hinch after the fallout from the cheating scandal. But knowing that, I think that could be another thing that factors as to whether or not Verlander considers making a return to the Tigers.
Right.
But again, if Cheapskate Chris is the one writing the checks at the end of the day, good luck on want to get him to commend the spending on anything. As I mentioned in a Twitter conversation with another user describing this, Chris is not his father. Period.
Right. So there you go. Mike's Chris's father. So there you go. So one quick Lions update from John Macaron, former Detroit Sports Podcast co-host with Adam Straczynski. John Macaron of the Oakland Press reports that Lions 2020 first round pick cornerback Jeff Okudah rehabs from core muscle surgery. Could that be the reason why he was struggling in his rookie season last year? Ed, go first.
I mean, you don't want to use the caveat of injuries as an excuse for play or performance, but when you consider the fact that, listen, at least 6, 7, 8 times out of 10, if you're an NFL player throughout the course of the season, there's going to be a point during a time where you're going to be playing a stretch of games where you are hurt and there's nothing else you can do about it. You may be low or thin at depth at your spots. That's why they got to keep relying on you, or whatever the case may be. But still, it's just an accepted reality. But still, you don't want to use that as a cop out of sorts. Even though there was promise, so to speak, with Okudah, that's why they drafted him. At least the previous regime drafted him. But I'm sure Brad Holmes sees something and Dan Campbell sees something where there's still something to bring out of this potential. And maybe they feel that a full healthy year could be that answer. So that still remains yet to be seen. But for his sake, for his own personal sake, I hope he has as healthy a season as possible.
All right. Yep. Jeff Okudah looking to improve in his sophomore season coming up in 2021 with the new coaching regime of Dan Campbell, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, and others. Frank, anything to add?
Well, I definitely hope that this recovery from the core muscle injury will help Okudah play better. And also should mention defensive backs coach Aubrey Pleasant will be coaching his position as well. So maybe that'll help him have a better year 2 than year 1.
So that's 2 positive factors that Jeff Okudah can work with as the 2021 NFL season comes along and rolls along. So, man, we can't wait for that. Okudah had at least 1 interception last season, but he's going to get more. I can see it in my crystal ball. So let's go over what we've learned to close this out. Ed, we'll start with you and we'll go to Frank, and then I'll say what we've learned. Ed, go ahead.
What I have learned, at least for this week, in terms of the Tigers, they're starting to gain confidence, and that is a positive thing as well as a potentially dangerous thing for opponents of them, because there seems like there's nothing more terrifying than a team that can gain confidence in themselves. Um, in terms of what I like and what I've seen so far, um, it's nowhere near the finish line. I think AJ Hinch mentioned that in an interview with the media last week, while giving shout out and appreciation to the fans for showing up by basically giving that helping vibe and energy that the players needed. It's still nowhere near what the end result of what they want it all to be. So there's no sense of getting complacent or being satisfied with what you want right now. So what I've learned is probably the same thing that AJ Hinch is learning. There's still a ways to go for the Tigers, but I'm liking what I'm seeing.
All right. Frank, what did you learn?
Well, what I've learned is the Tigers are continuing to get better, and kind of like what Ed said, they're nowhere near the finish line. But like I said with Al Avila's comments saying that the rebuild's over, I'm going to say I'll believe it when I see it next year when you are showing that you can contend for a wild card and spend money in free agency.
Yep. What I've learned, that Dennis Cholowski being selected by the Seattle Kraken is more proof that Ken Holland was a joke in that Datsuk trade. Cade Cunningham is a lock. I'm going to say it repeatedly 100 times again and again and again until the Pistons select him next Thursday. The Tigers just keep improving with AJ Hinch. That's all I'm going to say about them. And Jeff Okudah, going to play better after his core muscle surgery. He's just got to rehab, hope for no setbacks or anything like that. Just take it easy on the rehab, no rush. Just get better and then play better. It's the way it goes. So that's what we've learned, and that is everything we've covered. But before we go, the show is sponsored by the Viget Sports mobile app. The Viget Social Sports mobile app, available from the Apple App Store and Google Play, where great fans cover. Sign up with a referral code STABLES with STABLES with a capital S and the rest of the letters being lowercase, including the letter B as in billionaire, right in the middle. Again, the Viget Social Sports mobile app, where great fans cover, available from the Apple App Store and Google Play. Sign up with a referral code STAPLES with a capital S for Stables Media. Gentlemen, excellent job as always. Our next episode is next Thursday at 9 p.m. when we cover the Pistons in the NBA draft. Until then,
I thought it was next Wednesday.
No, it's next Thursday because the NBA draft is next Thursday, and we're gonna.
I was because what I was mentioning of giving a specific draft breakdown preview, that would make more sense going into it being on the Wednesday instead of Thursday, because again, it will be sort of a conflict of interest of doing the whole thing with the draft itself, live itself at the same time. That was just my view. Maybe I just read that wrong in the chat, but that's just my view.
Oh, okay. That's okay. We're still gonna go on next Thursday. We're gonna like cover it live.
I don't mind the live reaction with the draft. I can get that, but okay, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the draft starts.
Yeah, we'll just do it all next Thursday. I got you. Makes better sense. I got you.
Yeah, the draft is
Works for me.
Yeah, the draft is at 8:00. We're still gonna go on at 9, but still we're gonna give our live reactions.
And by then, the Pistons have already picked Cade. Okay, I got you.
Yes, there you go. That's what we're trying to aim at. Yes. So yeah, again, just like we did in the NFL draft earlier this year when the Lions picked Penei Sewell at offensive tackle in the NFL draft. You see where I'm getting at?
I got you. And then we waited a little hour later than usual to give our instant reaction episode. I got you.
Yep. So next Thursday at 9 p.m. when we cover the Pistons in the NBA draft, that's our next episode. But until then, for Ed Smith and Frank Vajner, I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DT2Phillips with 2 L's. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter and Instagram at EdSmith313. And follow Frank Vajner on Twitter and Instagram at Frank_Vajner. VAJCNER. And follow our show on Twitter, Periscope, and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. And like it on Facebook, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Thanks very much for downloading. Thanks very much for listening, downloading, watching, and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Power to the people. Hit them with a hind. We rest our case. Stay safe.